Most sports bettors are still stuck in 2012. They're betting with their gut and firing parlays like they're trying to speedrun bankruptcy. Meanwhile, the sports books are using tech, data, and behavioral traps to steal your money, one dumb bet at a time. But once I stopped playing like a fan and started thinking like a sniper, everything changed. I wasn't copying TikTok clowns or sweating $25 same game parlays like a degenerate, but instead built a reliable system that anyone can copy. And yeah, if you follow this strategy long enough, you will get banned by the bookies because it's what the professional bettors use. So today, I'm breaking down how the betting industry really works, the two main strategies that work in 2025, and what to do once you eventually get banned by the books. But starting with step one, and have you ever got that gut feeling right before a game, like, oh yeah, this one's a lock? Yeah, that usually means you're already cooked. Most people think betting is about picking winners, but it's not. Think about it like showing up to a Best Buy on Black Friday. You stroll into the store at 10 a.m. like an amateur, but everyone else camped out overnight like a bunch of tryhards and cleaned the place out. Now all that's left is a toaster no one wanted and a waffle maker with no plug. That's what it's like betting last minute based on your ball knowledge. The market's been open for days and the pros have already taken the value bets. So you really only have two options. Either hit mispriced lines early before the sharps and syndicates clean them up, or catch bad numbers late when breaking news or the public pushes the line too far and a slow book hasn't adjusted yet. Now there's also a third option, which is to build a legit model that gives you your own edge, but I'll get into that later. But if you're serious about making money from sports betting, I'm starting a private group with guys who do this every day. We're not just tossing around picks. It's all about systems, strategy, and finding a long-term edge. Yeah, it's a bit nerdy, but if you care more about data than hype and want to bet like a pro, I'll drop a link in the description. If we want a chance of taking down the sports books, then we need to join forces and work together. But moving on to step 2, and before we can talk about betting strategy, you've got to understand how the bookies actually make their money. They're not just hoping you lose, they've rigged the system to give themselves an unfair advantage. Think of how casinos play roulette. You've got red and black, which feels like 50-50, right? But then there's that little green zero, that's the house edge. And it's the same thing in sports betting, except instead of green, it's called the VIG. Let's say two teams are evenly matched. A fair line would be plus 100 on both sides, but the book sets it at negative 110. Now, if $110 comes in on both teams, the sports books pay $100 to the winner and keep $10 for themselves. That's how they print money regardless of the result. So if you're trying to win long term, you're not just beating the other bettors. You've also got to beat the VIG, which is why 97% of sports bettors lose money. But the good news is that most people are out here firing gut feel parlays and betting like a degenerate. And that was me for so many years, but if you can just follow a simple system, even a basic one, you're already ahead of most bettors. Which takes us to step 3, and there's this myth that sportsbooks have an army of super nerds in some underground bunker. Just rows of PhDs with headsets, crunching numbers 24/7 like it's NASA. Yeah, not quite. Most books aren't building models from scratch, because hiring super nerds is expensive, and there are way too many variables. Injuries, refs, weather, player mood swings, girlfriend drama, good luck modeling that in Excel. And logistically, it just doesn't make sense, because the books can still make a profit without doing all of this. It's way easier for them just to copy other sports books and move the lines based on where the money's going. So it's basically high school math class. One kid does the homework and everyone else cheats off him. But if you want to copy what I did to make my first $1,000 with sports betting, I put together a quick guide that breaks it down step by step. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to check it out. But moving on to step 4, and how do sportsbooks actually set the lines? Well, like we mentioned earlier, they make their money from the VIG. So they're not in the business of predicting results, they're in the business of making a profit. So they just need to post odds that aren't total garbage. Then they take bets on both sides and let the market shape the line. If too much money comes in on one side, they shift it to balance the risk. But because they're not try-harding with advanced models for every single market, that leaves gaps, especially in smaller markets like player props or niche sports where they're just copying and praying. That's your opening. If you can build your own model, you can find edges in spots they don't care about. I'll dive deeper into that later, but let's go to step 5, where we break down the two types of sportsbooks you will come up against and how to beat each one. So type 1 is the soft book. Think DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM. They have big promos, flashy boosts, and do tons of marketing. Because of this, their odds are pretty good since they're trying to attract the masses. It's easier to win here. But the moment you do, you get limited and eventually banned from placing bets. The second type of sports book is the sharp book. These are the market makers. These include bookies like Pinnacle or betting exchanges like Betfair. The good news is that they don't ban winners, so it's the better option long term. They rely on volume, take a small 1 to 2% vig, and let the market sort itself out. But the edge is tighter, so to win here, you've actually got to outplay the price. Because of that, the game plan is different for soft books versus sharp books. Which takes us to step 6, and there are only 2 real ways to win at this game. The first method is easier, and what I recommend most beginners start with. This is called the top-down approach. Think of it like online shopping. You're scanning different stores and looking for who has the best deal. Bookies pull their lines from different sources, so sometimes one is late to move, or they just post something dumb. If you can catch these, then you have a plus EV bet. Stack enough of them and you'll profit over time. But sitting in front of your laptop like a nerd and scanning all the odds for hours kind of sucks. Fortunately, there are tools like OddsJam that scan all the books and flag these edges for you. So if you're just starting out, this is the move. But the downsides with this approach is that eventually you will get limited. There are some ways to slow down getting banned though. If you're betting on niche sports like Polish women's volleyball overs at 3 a.m., that's a shortcut to getting flagged. So I recommend sticking to the most popular sports and leagues. And once you do get banned, which you will, you can create accounts in your family member's name. Top down is where I recommend most people start. It's also what most of us are doing inside the community. So if you want support from other sharp bettors running the same strategy, come join us. The link is in the description of this video, which takes us to step 7 with method 2, and unless you've got 2,309 family members, you can't stay in method 1 forever. Once you've been banned from every soft book and burned through all your cousins' names, then you will need to transition to the bottom-up strategy. This is where the pros live, and most sports bettors don't touch this because it's a lot of effort. Sports betting is basically PvP, which stands for player versus player. So as long as you're better than 97% of bettors, you win. And the only way to do this is to do what 97% of people aren't willing to do. Bottom up means building your own numbers. You're not reacting to the market, you're pricing it yourself. This turns you into your own odds maker. You'll be scraping data, building models, and running your own probabilities. And when your numbers say the line is off, that's your edge. Now let's be real, building a profitable model is hard. You're up against actual quants, like Tony Bloom's Star Lizard, and nerds who haven't seen daylight since 2016. So you'll need to learn stats, modeling, maybe even Python or machine learning if you want to scale it. But this is how the top 3% play. Which takes us to step 8, and what does a model even look like? Well, let's look at a basic sports betting model, but I'm telling you now, this is a garbage model. It won't beat the market, but that's not the point. The point is to show you the basics of building a model, so you can go build your own. Let's say you're betting NBA totals. You take the last 10 games for each team, average the combined score, and use that to guess the over-under for the next game. That's a model. Now there's only one variable, so it's unlikely to be accurate. Real models have hundreds of variables, number of rest days, refs, travel, player form, and a lot more. But the goal isn't to build that all at once. You start with version 1, backtest it on past seasons, see how it performs, then tweak it. You add new variables and then test it again, and over time your model gets sharper. But it's never done. The market adapts, and so you have to keep evolving or fall behind. That's why nobody is posting their models online, because once everyone has it, the edge no longer exists. That's why I recommend starting in niche markets, not the big leagues like the NFL and NBA. And once you have the skill and capital, then you can move into the bigger markets. But this is only scratching the surface, so if you guys want me to talk more about building models, then let me know in the comments below and we can dive a little deeper in future videos. So earlier we talked about the top-down sports betting strategy. But most bettors still lose money because they make some common mistakes that destroy their profitability. So watch this video next to learn the 7 sports betting principles that will make anyone rich. I'll put it up on the screen for you to watch next.